After visiting every country in the world, I can tell you that the chances of running into trouble are quite high.
Put the camera down.
Especially in places like Sao Paulo, Brazil, where I am right now. Getting robbed, scammed, or kidnapped are serious concerns that every traveler should be aware of. Holy I've had many close encounters in war-torn countries and conflict zones. And unfortunately, I've had my fair share of hospital visits.
Oh man.
In this video, I'm gonna share with you 5 near-death experiences that still traumatize me to this day.
I don't know if I can handle this.
We begin in Haiti. So I went to Haiti a few months ago, and man, it was one of the most intense experiences of my entire life. So Port-au-Prince is probably in the top 3 most dangerous places in the world. I mean, nowhere there can you just stop and chill and get a shoe shine on the side of the street, and I mean it. Gangs are controlling the whole city, so I made a local friend named Sean.
How we doing, man? Nice to meet you.
And he knows the gang members, so he took me inside a place called Cité Soleil, which is, man, I'm just trying to catch my breath here as I think about what I saw. Truck barricaded, trash everywhere.
The smell of that trash burning is horrific.
Fully big weaponed gangs that are controlling this area. So when you go down the long road to get to the checkpoint, you see all these gangsters. And when I say gangsters, I mean like guys with grills in their teeth, teardrop tattoos, neck tattoos, and massive automatic weapons that you'd have to see to believe. They run and greet you with the car and they're like, hey, what are you doing? What are you doing? Give me money, give me money. That moment was the closest I've ever been to getting kidnapped in my life.
Are you sure we're gonna be okay, man?
Yeah, we good, don't worry.
I was planning on it happening and figuring out how I was gonna get out of the situation. Sure enough, we just ended up paying them off, and I trusted Sean and they let us in. Then I had to go meet the chief of the whole slum, and he took me inside and we met in this sketchy room with blasting music, and then I had to slap like $1,000 in his hand, and I had to pay him more after that. That was just the beginning part. And then he appointed his soldiers, which are basically thugs with weapons, to come join us and escort us around. 6 of them.
This guy's walking with a bag of bullets.
Damn.
And a bulletproof vest.
And then as I walked around, I interviewed the guys, and they told me that in order to be a soldier and get a weapon, you have to do a series of kidnappings. And I was like, okay, cool. Walking around Cité Soleil, I saw things that nobody should ever see. There were houses that were completely flooded because they didn't have the means to leave, and when the rain comes, this lady was walking in like ankle high of water in her house. I mean, it was super sad.
She would love to rent another house, but she doesn't have the need.
I've never been to a community where there's literally no place to buy water or food. Like they literally have nothing. There's no jobs, and there's a lot of people there. It's really, really, really intense. Gunshots are everywhere. You hear them when you walk around. Like the feeling of just being so hesitant and the feeling of presence around you that are just staring at you, and at any given moment things can go bad, was very much a threat to me and my safety. And you might ask, why did I do it? And it's because I'm really curious about how other people are living around the world, and I will go the extra mile to find human stories in these places and try to find positivity. But here in Cité Soleil, I didn't find anything. If you're from Haiti and watching this, I'm sorry to say this, but the country really is going through rough times, and I hope it can be better, because when I went on the airplane flying in, it was beautiful views and it has a lot of potential as a beautiful destination in the Caribbean, but things got to be fixed. I mean, the president was assassinated. They haven't really replaced him since then. I just read in the news recently that, like, no thank you, I'm okay. I just read in the news recently that one of the jails was broken loose and all the criminals are running on the streets. Anyways, Haiti's a mess. I hope to go back someday when it's a little safer and a little better, but for now, I'm in no hurry. Real quick, guys, I just want to let you know that my very first book comes out on May 21st, and you can pre-order it by clicking the link in the description down below or by scanning this QR code. I'm also going on a 10-city book tour this summer, and I would love to see you there in person. This book has plenty of untold travel stories from the world's most dangerous countries, as well as plenty of practical tips, advice, and secrets that will inspire you to travel. That leads me to my second near-death experience, which was in India back in 2015 when I was a young budget backpacker with a big afro, and I was traveling around the world making money as a travel blogger and Snapchatter back in the day before YouTube. All right, this story gives me a lot of PTSD when I think back, but I was at the tail end of a 3-month journey around India, spending $500 a month, doing it super budget. Really enjoyed it, loved it, but India is really intense. My true colors came out in that trip, and I learned more about myself than any other trip I've ever taken. I was in the Rajasthan state, and I was on a bus from Udaipur to Jodhpur, which is about a 10-hour overnight bus. I was the only foreigner on the bus, the only English speaker, and I was on the top deck. It was a double-decker. So at midnight, Bus leaves. When I got on the bus, I remembered feeling that it was kind of creaky. It was like a little weird. It was an old bus, and I remember feeling a little uncomfortable. But anyways, I just went with the flow. I went to my upper bunk, and I walked in, and I went up the ladder, and I laid down. About an hour into the bus ride, I was just getting cozy. I had my headphones in. I was listening to some music, and I was kind of dozing off, but I was still very much awake. Out of nowhere, the bus driver slams on the brakes, turned the wheel to the left, and the bus flew off the freeway over the median. We probably dropped about 5 feet. We were probably going about 50 miles an hour. The bus completely flipped over on the side that I was laying on. So literally my nose was like 3 inches from the ground. All the windows shattered, everybody screaming and crying. There were babies on board. I remember there was so much dirt and glass in the air and so much chaos that when I opened my eye to look up, I had to look through this little crack on my fingers because I could barely see anything because of all the debris. And there was a kid's shoe right above me because he was hanging, he was holding onto the pole. About 10 minutes later, which felt like 10 weeks later, I had to get out of the bus. And meanwhile, I'm seeing blood everywhere, people screaming and crying, and it was literally like a horror film. It was the scariest moment of my life to this day. In order to get out of the bus, I had to go through the side, which all the windows were shattered, so I had to go through, and then I was standing on top, and then I had to jump down, which was like a 10-foot jump down, and I had all my bags with me. So there I am going up, seeing blood everywhere and seeing people that are like stuck in the bus. The bus kind of split and people were like stuck in it. I don't know how to explain it any better than that. But I get out the bus, I'm standing on the side of the road shaking like this for an hour. People are coming up screaming and crying, and I'm getting guys that are doing this sign signifying that 2 people were stuck in the bus and they didn't make it out alive. And I know that because they told me and I saw them. Sorry, I feel like someone's gonna steal the GoPro out of my hand right now, so I'm holding it down. People are approaching me. It's funny that I'm telling this story when I'm in a sketchy street corner in Sao Paulo. Anyways, yeah, so long story short, I get out of the bus, I'm waiting on the side of the road for like 3 hours, and another bus comes and picks me up and takes me to Jodhpur, which is another like 8 hours, and the whole time I'm literally shaking. Like every time the bus hit the brake, I was like freaking out. I thought we were gonna get another crash. And I remember calling my mom and she was like, you need to get on the next plane home. And I had a beard out to here. I had just been in India for 3 months. And the craziest part to end this story was I was going to Kathmandu right after to hike the base camp of Mount Everest. And when I was on the plane, the massive earthquake hit where 10,000 people died. And we felt the earth shaking when I was on the runway in Delhi because it's not that far from Kathmandu. That was 1 week after the bus crashed. And after that, I went back to Chicago. I was in total shock. And yeah, that was a really scary time in my life. My next near-death experience happened to me in Chad. And I'm keeping my camera low right now because I'm walking in kind of a sketchy area and a lot of people are around me looking at my camera. So, N'Djamena, Chad, oh, what a place. 2019 was the year. I was traveling around Africa by myself and I find myself in Chad.
What's up, Chad?
Now, I don't know if you know much about Chad, but let's just say it's not the greatest place in the world. It's very hostile. People are not welcoming. There's really not that much to do. It's the hottest place you've ever been because it's in the Sahara Desert. There's a lot of UN cars and it's just very, very intense. So, I get to Chad, I make a friend of a friend through Instagram. First of all, the airport when I arrive is covered in cockroaches. I remember this guy sweeping a broom with all the cockroaches to clear it. Then meet up with a friend of a friend who picked me up at the airport and actually was a pretty nice guy. He was more like a bodyguard. He was a huge guy. Everyone there is tall. Take me to my hotel, sleep. Next day, we're gonna go explore the city. So I get in a motorbike taxi and he gets in another one. My driver kept going really fast and we lost touch with my other guy. So we're going through the dirt streets of N'Djamena. I mean, fast. It's getting really sketchy and I keep yelling at my driver. I was like hitting his back like, stop, stop, stop. And I don't speak French and they speak French there, so I couldn't communicate to him. And it turns out we were stuck in a police chase. All these police cars started chasing us. Oh, I got this dirt in my eye just now. Oh. I got like some serious dirt in my eye. It's ironic because I'm telling a story about being on a dirt bike in Chad. Oh, man, I'm struggling telling this story right now. Jesus Christ. I'm stuck in this police chase, going through the streets of N'Djamena fast, running red lights, cars are coming at us, and I keep telling the driver to stop, 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 and he's not stopping. So finally, I like went over his shoulder and pulled the brake and stopped it. He gets off the bike and starts running. A massive brawl starts in front of me right on the street, and I'm just trying to stay safe. Meanwhile, my phone wasn't working. I didn't have a SIM card and I lost my friend. And I didn't know what the name of our hotel. I just didn't remember. I didn't write it down. So I'm stuck on the side of the street and I don't know what to do with myself. So I jump in a random little minibus. Okay, so there I am, middle of Chad on a minibus. Of course, I'm documenting everything because at this time I was making videos and I share my honest experiences around the world. And so I get in this minibus, catch my breath for a second. I'm holding my camera in my hand, so I started taking a picture of this cute little kid in the bus. Well, a lesson learned, I should not have taken a picture of the kid without the parents' permission, and since that moment I've learned and I've never done it without asking permission if I take a photo of a kid. And so I did it, and then everyone freaked out on the bus. They were like yelling, like, why are you taking this picture? You have without permission, blah, blah, blah. So then I get out of that minibus, and whenever there's kind of commotion, people kind of gather around and figure out that there's something happening. So basically some dude pulls out a knife and is like, what are you doing here? And I was like, holy thankfully, out of nowhere, my buddy who I was with before finds me and runs up and just like protects me and kind of puts his arm out like, whoa, 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 what's going on, what's going on? I remember some dude grabbed my shirt and twisted it like this and like broke the seam of my shirt here. So literally, like, it looked like I had just gotten beaten up. So yeah, then my friend comes and breaks up the fight, and I think if my friend didn't come, I literally would have been slashed or robbed or something even worse. I didn't even know where my hotel was. Can you imagine? So we calm down a little bit. He takes me to this shisha bar, and I go outside to pee, and I step in a massive pile of human, like massive pile. It's like everyone pooped in one spot. And so then I got back to my hotel later that night, and I booked a flight out the next day. I will say though, I'm planning to give Chad a second chance. I want to go back and visit some tribes in the south. It looks really awesome, and I'm actually planning to go soon. Hopefully you guys will be with me on that journey. All right, now my fourth near-death experience is going to be a two-part story in Syria and in Yemen, and they both have to do with being almost in a terrorist attack. Let's start off in Syria. First off, Syria is amazing. I had a great time there, and I really hope to go back. I love the people, the culture. The country's gone through some really rough times in the last 15 years with war and everything, but I was scheduled to go. Man, I almost just lost my GoPro. Literally, this dude walked up taking a selfie, and he kind of jolted at me, and I walked away. I'm not joking. Maybe I should sit down here and have a coffee while I tell this story. Hello, coffee? Cafe? Uno? Obrigado. Okay, so Syria. Good morning from Damascus, my very first day in Syria, country number 183. I was heading to a place called Palmyra, which is in the desert, kind of on the eastern side of the country. And it's an old historic town, it's a UNESCO site, it's really, really cool ruins. And I was really excited to go. And we were in the car, we were heading there. It's a long drive, it's like 4 hours or something. And while we're in the car, we get a call that there's been an attack at the checkpoint that we're about to cross. I don't know how far we were from the checkpoint, maybe a half hour, an hour. And there was gunfire and people died at that checkpoint. There was an attack, an explosion. We just missed it. So we turned back and went to Damascus. I can't imagine what would have happened if we were at that checkpoint when that happened. The next almost terrorist attack that I just missed was in Shibam, Yemen. So Yemen's also a really crazy, cool country. I happen to love it.
Beautiful, untouched nature. Unbelievable.
I think all things considered, as a tourist, it's the most dangerous country in the world. Mainland Yemen, not Socotra. And I was on an 8-day road trip by myself with a local friend in mainland Yemen. And we were in the southern parts. There's this really cool old town in the desert called Shibam. It's a UNESCO site. It's called Manhattan of the Desert because there's like 15th century buildings that are made of mud brick, and they're like 10, 15, 20 floors high. And it's super old, like 500-600 years old. And I really want to see it. So I'm with my guide, Abdul, who was pretty sketchy the whole time. And similar to the Syria story, we're about to roll up to the checkpoint. My guy gets a call, turn around right now. There's an attack at the checkpoint, literally.
Oh my God.
And my guide was pretty cool. He kept a composure the whole time. He was pretty chill. Like, he didn't really show signs of fear or danger. And at that moment, he was like, holy, we need to leave right now, right now. So we turn around. The problem was, we needed to go through Shibam to get to the next city, and there was only 2 roads to get to the city, and then we had to turn and divert the other way. So we waited out like an hour, and then we ended up taking the other kind of backcountry road to get back to Shibam, so not where the explosion was around. And we ended up getting to Shibam. I had 5 minutes, literally 5 minutes to explore the town. I remember running around, taking pictures, meeting people. It was the coolest place I've been in the Middle East, Shibam. I'm telling you, these skyscrapers in the desert, it's so awesome, so awesome.
Shabam.
I went to a nearby mountain and I got this cool drone shot looking down at Shibam. But I only was able to spend 5 minutes on the street there. Ended up, there really was an attack. We just missed it by literally 10 minutes, and I got in, got out. I have more stories about almost missing terrorist attacks. There was a place in Bamyan, Afghanistan. A week after I left, it was blown up and 30 people in the same market I was shooting at was killed. And also in Baghdad, the last time I went there, I was shooting in this big market. The day that I flew out, which was the day after I was shooting, another big attack. Literally the same street stalls that I was featuring in my video, the same street vendors are no longer there. So why am I telling this stuff? It's because it happened, and because I like to be honest and transparent during my travels and let you guys know that it's not always rainbows and ponies. Like, it does hit the fan, and I'm here for the ride. So there's one more story I want to tell you guys in this video, and that is on the border of North Korea and Russia. I was traveling in Siberia in February 2022. It was cold, but I loved it. I went to Yakutsk, the world's coldest inhabited city. It was like minus 40 degrees when I was there.
Frozen.
And then I went to a place called Vladivostok, which I've always wanted to visit because A, the name is cool, and B, it's a very Asian city near Seoul and Tokyo, and the people look Asian, but it's Russia, and I was really interested in that. So I went to Vladivostok, and I met a local girl who's a really, really cool girl. I'm blanking on her name right now, but she's a YouTuber. I'll link her channel down below. And I told her I wanted to go to the nearby town on the border of Russia and North Korea, because there's an 11-kilometer strip of land that borders North Korea and Russia, and it's super interesting, because I have a fascination with North Korea. I've been there, I have many North Korean friends, I've made many stories on North Korean refugees. I can speak Korean because I lived in South Korea for 2 years. I took a class about North Korea in college. I'm like obsessed with North Korea. So we take the 6-hour drive down to the border. On the way, we stopped at these frozen waterfalls, which were crazy. I've never seen waterfalls literally freeze in midair. And I'm in a car with 3 other Russians and myself, one being my camera guy, Andre, one being the driver, and then one being my local friend. And the rules are a little vague about getting to this town. I read online that you might need a permit to get to the Russian town on the border of North Korea. I also read that you can just go. So knowing me, I just went. The drive down there is fine, there's no checkpoints. And right when we get to the actual border town, the Russian town of Kasan, which is right on the border of North Korea, there's a police stop. And I saw it from the back of the car and I was like, oh, I was sitting in the back left seat of the car, okay? The 3 other people had Russian passports, I have a US passport. So we get to the checkpoint, we have big, like Soviet style, big furry hats, very intimidating, big fat policemen come up to the car. Documento, documento. Passport check for the driver, good. Passport check for my friend, good. Passport check for my other friend, passport check for my camera guy, good. I thought he was just gonna wave us in, and he goes, you, passport. And I was like, so slowly take out my passport, give it to him. He looked at US passport, goes, flips through. Visa, visa, visa. Like I needed a special permit in my passport to enter this Russian town. My Russian visa wasn't good enough. I needed a special one. Didn't have it. Immediately he goes, you, come here now. Phone, leave in the car. Friends, stay here. All in Russian, but I understood what he was saying through hand motion. So I had to leave my phone in the car. I was wearing a lav mic like this under my shirt, so I had to like secretly take it off because they would have thought I was like a CIA like spying on them. This was right when the war with Ukraine was heating up. There was not an official attack yet, but there was news that Russia was going to invade Ukraine. And of course, the US is involved in everything. So my friends have to stay behind. I get in the police car with these 3 policemen with no phone. They drive me up this big steep hill, take me to their headquarters office with barbed wires. It was like an old compound. Slam the door, strip search me, full-on strip search, like nude. Then they escort me into this room upstairs and they lock the door. And there's a big picture of Putin on the wall and it's freezing. There's no heat in there. And there's a chalkboard. It looked like a classroom at the kindergartner. And there I am, sitting there. They locked me inside for about 30 minutes, which felt like 3 hours. I have no phone. Imagine being stuck in a building right now without a phone and freezing and not knowing what to do. And meanwhile, out the window, I could see the border of North Korea, which was literally like just a stone throw away. Eventually a guy comes in and said he had a translator with him, which he spoke maybe 20 words of English. We were just communicating through Google Translate for about 20 minutes. Asked me every question under the book. What's your name? Where are you from? What's your business? Why are you here? What's the name of your wife? What's your dog's name? Where'd you go to university? Why do you like North Korea? Why do you like Russia? Why have you been to, they were looking through my passport. Why have you been to Turkmenistan? Why have you been to Iran? So all the questions were coming. Finally, I was like crying and begging and convincing them to let me bring my friends in because I couldn't talk to them and I needed someone to bail me out. So they let my friends in. So sitting at this table, they're still asking questions, every question under the book. Long story short, they threatened to put me behind bars and then threatened to throw me back to the US and never being allowed in Russia. And I just really apologized. I was like very, very honest. Like, I'm so sorry, I didn't know I can't be here, blah, blah, blah. And so long story short, I had to sign like 30 pages. They printed all these pages saying that I will not come here. If I'm ever seen again at any border town in Russia, I'm immediately thrown out of the country and have to pay a massive fine and all this stuff. So I ended up getting out. After 3 hours being in this freaking compound, I got out and I went back to Vladivostok and I was so shaken up. I like couldn't sleep for that 24 hours and I could have been the next Brittany Griner. I mean, a week after I left Russia, which was 2 weeks after this detainment happened, Putin invaded Ukraine and the whole war started. And then Brittany Griner, that famous women's basketball player playing on the Phoenix Mercury, was caught in the Russia airport for having some weed on her and she was held up, locked for 9 months. I could have been the next Brittany Griner. I'm so glad I got out. And man, those are 5 near-death experiences I had around the world, and I actually just shot some crazy stories here in Sao Paulo, so hopefully you'll be able to watch them. I went in this place called Cracolândia and this favela. Anyways, My brain is racing right now. Thanks for watching this story. I hope you learned not to be as stupid as me when you travel. I mean, obviously I push the boundaries and you don't have to do that. I'm just always really curious to know what's going on and obviously documenting and trying to tell stories as I go. But yeah, you live and you learn. So comment down below. I'd love to hear your scariest story when you travel. I want to let the comment thread be an open place where everybody can share ideas and people can connect, and I'll be reading all of them and commenting. And all right, thank you. I'm sweating bullets right now. I'll see you guys in the next video, which will probably be a more positive one than this. Love you all. Thank you so much. Peace.